Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. The theme for tonight is guitars that go fast. And we're going to start with an interesting one listed by Midnight Famous over on Reverb called the Fast and Furious Gibson Les Paul. So if you're not familiar, the late 90s into the 2000s was the promotional period of Gibson, where they would partner with a whole bunch of different companies to make some really strange signature guitars. Like, you got Fruit of the Loom underwear Gibson guitars out there because of this practice, and occasionally you still see it yet today, such as with the Lexus Les Paul. But another one to add to our list is the Toyo tires Les Paul. So here's the body. I've got to say, I don't hate it because some promotional guitars are too dumb to love. Other ones are so corny you have to like them. And then there's designs that are just actually good. This one, if it wasn't for the branding on the front, it would actually be pretty sweet. You get that black lightning strike, and then the bright red in your face, it makes you think it's gonna go fast. And then interestingly enough, you do not have EMG pickups in this thing. It's regular Gibson humbuckers, but they've got that flat black cover. It looks fantastic. It matches the theme, and the knobs pair well too, especially since we've got this nice ebony fretboard. Kind of reminds me of the Showcase Edition Les Paul Custom, except for it wasn't quite as bright looking. But then, my friends, we get to the fretboard. It says Fast and the Furious, which if you're not familiar, it's a big movie franchise. I'm sure Toyo tires were probably in them. But it's an ebony fretboard with a perloid material as they normally do. Had they actually did these up in mother of pearl, maybe these promotional guitars would have been cooler. But if you're a big fan of the movie series, I honestly don't see that as a detractor from this one. But oh, we've got to talk about this headstock. Nice Gibson mother of pearl logo, but the Tokyo Drift font doesn't work. Like, maybe again, if it was mother of pearl, it would look good, but it's not. It doesn't have much style to it, but I'm sure it matches the film, so that's why they did it up that way. But we can also see we've got the black tuners. It's just an all blacked out vibe. But if you think that is it, it's actually the back that captivated me even more. To me, not being a car enthusiast or tire fan, I just thought this was like the Goth Morning Les Paul special that we saw out of the mod collection. It just has an interesting purple with a striped design going on, but now that I'm talking about the guitar, I now realize that is the tire treads. You know, the impressions on the tire. Every brand has their own unique way of doing it, so I would assume that is theirs. Nice. See, that's one of those quirky features that I like. It's stupid, but it's lovable. And they at least put it on the back. And then, oh boy, the back of the headstock. Another just plastered on their text. Never looks good on these things, but it says, driven to perform. But that movie itself came out in 2006, and looking at our serial number, this also did. So you guys will have to let me know if this thing is hot or not. But if you need to add it to your collection, he is asking a little over $6,000, which usually these promotional guitars don't sell for a big premium unless it's with a really huge brand. And I don't think he's too crazy since it's the Fast and the Furious. There's a lot of fans to that. But our next guitar that goes fast is the Les Paul Corvette 6CR Race Team guitar. It's a little bit cheaper at $5,000. However, this has Corvette elements blent into it. And if you know anything about Corvettes, they're a little bit expensive, so this might appeal to somebody who happens to have one of these in this color. There's tons of Nascar guitars out there if you're interested, and we do have Corvette Les Pauls and double cuts, and even SGs. And that's one of those times when the promo guitars are actually fairly valuable. Let's take a look at this one. It's a nice hot rod yellow color. Reminds me of the Crazy Taxi game. We've got our logo down here, and we've got our checkered flag underneath our design. But they definitely hot rodded out our pickups. I think those are what, DiMarzio's? Which isn't what Gibson usually uses on these. But it has a matching yellow headstock with what appears to be painted on binding rather than actually using black binding. Just message the seller. I'm sure he can provide some more photos to see if that's paint or real binding. However, if the racing thing's not your theme and you want a matching yellow headstock Gibson guitar, check out the Les Paul Studio Light Pro. You can find some like that, or if you're lucky, you can find one of the chambered Blackout series guitars in the Diablo yellow finish. But I like the whole yellow and black vibe of this one. They put a Les Paul custom truss rod cover on it for good measure. However, seeing that we have dot inlays, it's probably more so akin to like a studio. But it looks like an ebony fretboard, so I can't think of a model around that time frame that would be spec'd exactly like this particular one is. And it seems the seller thinks that Gibson just worked with the Corvette boys to work one of these things up. As far as the back, they just left it yellow. Same thing with the back of the headstock. We've got Spurzels, apparently stock from the factory. I can see there's some sort of a serial number here, but I can't quite make out what it is. Maybe you can see it after we adjust the contrast. Could be a leading 0, making it 2009, kind of like what they're saying here. This guy usually knows what he's selling, so I believe there's probably a 0 that we just can't see. Number 3 is a John Lennon Les Paul Jr. This appears to be Zeal Incorporated's take on a refinished Les Paul Special that they modified in a unique way. So it's got this great army green finish. You've got your ranking and some other, almost looks like cloth badges on it, as well as the US Army one. But then what looks like a drawn-on pickguard, which I thought was kind of funny. But take a look at this. They have one of those Charlie Christian pickups, albeit a slightly shrunken down version. And if you're not familiar, Mr. Lennon did use a Junior like this that there is a custom shop recreation of that has the larger style one. I still need to review one of those one day. But they did this one without major modifications, but yet at the same time it was majorly modified. Now unfortunately, we can't tell if they did the face of the headstock or the back, because the only other photo they have on their listing is this. So we can at least tell the whole thing's army green, and we've got some sort of a design back here. But, oh, okay, I see now. It's inspired by what John was wearing in this photo. Gotcha, now I see that. And then maybe those designs on the back of the guitar were his buttons. I'm not seeing all the other things in this particular photo, but maybe they're there. That makes a lot more sense now. But they're asking $3,500 for it. Next up, take a look at this thing. It's a black Les Paul Custom with chrome toppers on the pickup rings. Isn't that so fascinating? That's the only reason I'm sharing this guitar with you. We've never seen that before. Nah, just kidding. Of course there's something better than that on this thing. It's got red back and sides. If that doesn't say we're going fast, I don't know what does. I would never have thought to spec this out myself. But it just goes to show you, the side profile shot mixed with the top color, if you play with that, sometimes you get some really cool combinations. It doesn't necessarily look good from this angle in my opinion, but just this really works. The entire back is red, but then get this, it has a volute. So it's like a 70s style Les Paul reissue. Then our serial number puts it to 2018, so that means we've got the rich light fretboard. I started thinking, what's another model from 2018 that was a 70s reissue that had a volute on the back of the headstock? It's the Boogie Van Les Pauls, those crazy things that all these different weird colors. Most people don't like them, but it's a weird 2018 model. Of course, I'm going to like it. If I ever find one of those at a good price, I do want to document it. And the one I personally want to document the most is the black, red, and yellow. But hear me out. Some of these did have a red back like this one. So did Gibson have a hard time selling those and decide to paint it ebony over top? Or did they make an extra one? Or was this just a custom order? Because that seems to be what the seller thinks it is, a custom order for a Japanese dealer who then sold it. But the specs are identical, so it wouldn't surprise me if this was a factory repainted, we gotta get this thing out of here, because that usually is the way it works. When Gibson wants to get rid of something, they send it to the overseas market. But they are asking $8,000 and they are 100% firm. This one's brand new by Melody Music Shop. They're pretty easy to work with. They want $5,500, but this is the first time I've seen this in a while, since like the Satin Widows. A straight up Les Paul Custom, brand new with a satin finish, like not out of the mod collection or demo shop or anything like that. This is straight to your door, not a custom order, readily available Les Paul Custom satin black. I think it looks fantastic. Now, unfortunately, after you play it for a little bit, it's going to buff up in those areas, but satin finish guitars can feel really good. It'd be nice to try out a first quality one from Gibson's custom shop. But so far it looks like the only other custom spec are our 50s style knobs. But we still have the Nashville style bridge, so this is not a specific year reissue guitar. And it is from this year, 2023. With a back that looks like that. Next up, if satin's not your thing, we've got gloss. This one is used at $43. But when I first saw this, I thought it might have been like a Japan market exclusive that actually has a real red flower on it. So I think there's like an anime or a manga or something that has a very similar logo. But no, it just ended up being a decal on this guitar, but it kind of works. There's things like the Rose Tattoo 335, which is another 2018 model I'm looking for, that has a rose up here on the upper horn, but this one's just a bigger, broader decal. I like the shop's photo style. It really helps you see everything in all the lighting situations. But we've got gold hardware without pickup covers, so that's kind of what helps transform the look of this one as well. I'm surprised it sat that long. And hey, would you look at this? Our Velvet Lingerie Explorer Custom showed up. The new price is $8,500 and it's got a whole lot of watchers, but let's see it outside of studio lighting. Looks pretty evil, but yet at the same time it's a little frilly and girly, so it kind of contradicts itself. But from far away, yeah, that's a sweet red reverse burst, especially on our headstock. I would like to see this done again around Halloween time, but this time do it more like a spiderweb design. Oh yeah, that's gonna be cool. But this was a mod collection guitar that we had seen a couple of weeks ago. This thing sold very fast, so I don't imagine it'll stick around too long on the used market. And as we're with the hot rod culture, an early 90s Firebird 5 reissue showed up. It's currently listed at $2,800. I had to click on this because last time that we saw a pinup girl Firebird, it turned out to be original. So I was like, is the mermaid Firebird actually real? And after looking at these photos, I don't think so. That looks like a decal that's been added, but I could be wrong because there's just not enough to really tell. But this one does have a slight headstock break. And unfortunately, there's absolutely no description to this guitar. And to wrap up tonight's episode, we have a awesome 2016 Les Paul Custom. So I clicked on this one and was just enamored. The double white works incredibly well with this ocean seawater greenish hue. That's an insane quilt top. He's got it out in the light, making it look even better. Now that I'm looking at it the second time, you can tell that the pickup rings are a slightly different hue than the pickups, which kind of bugs me. But first time you see it, you don't notice. So I was just going through all these photos, absolutely enamored by it. Then we got some inside shots, it's still looking okay. And then we see the Ace Frehley style tuners, giving it some extra blingage. But then I go, oh, those aren't the same tuners. And then I went, oh, this guitar got featured twice. So I nearly bought this guitar from the initial seller that got it. So he had bought this about a month or so ago. The seller had two guitars that were very similar to this, but he decided to modify it, which usually is not a good idea, but he completely transformed the vibe of this. And it's so breathtaking, I didn't even notice we had a pickguard screw hole there. All right, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.